Oh boy, you know what? Feedback is not just another F word, friends. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm gonna, when I share my screen, Coach Lee just wanted to make sure that it's gonna show, right? Everything is okay?
You should have capabilities to share.
Perfect. Just making sure. I didn't want to cut anybody
Yes.
off because talk about the F word. Ah, okay. So one of the things that I wanted to go over, so as Coach Lee had mentioned, and I really appreciate the ability to speak here at this summit. This is so awesome, and I really want to major shout out to Faith for keeping everything rolling and going. That is not the easiest thing to do, but that is amazing. So I wanted to thank you for that. So as Coach Lee has said, I am Julia Bobby. I am a career clarity coach. I also call myself the career perceptive, and I'm also a corporate trainer. I'm a counselor by trade, and I have spent, what do I say, over 20 years observing human behavior in the workplace. So, not only through corporate training, but through leading teams, through being a hiring manager, through helping to build startups. I really started to recognize certain patterns. And one of the things that actually fell short was being able to give each other detailed, effective feedback. Um, so when I was speaking with Coach Lee about what I wanted to do for the summit, I originally was going to do active listening, which is a big deal, but immediately I was like, feedback, yeah, just another F word. So I have literally trained hundreds of people in giving effective feedback. And that is the first question I always asked the people that I was training was, how many of you think feedback is just another F word? And everybody would kind of giggle and raise their hands. And it was a really good icebreaker. But let's think about why we associate feedback with that type of situation. So I want to get into it. Our agenda today, we're going to bust a couple of feedback myths, and that's going to be really workplace focused. We're learning what feedback actually is, and we're learning strategies to incorporate effective feedback into your work and daily life where you get to be the change agent. Because feedback is really about embracing you and empowering you. And as Bridget and as Chris had mentioned earlier, we're really talking about empowerment here. Oh, by the way, we're also doing it in 10 minutes. So thankfully, I'm from the Northeast because apparently we talk really, really fast. So anywhere I've been in the country, that's what I hear. So thank goodness for that because we're going to do this really, really quick. So who's afraid of the big bad feedback? In my centuries of being a trainer and being a coach, a mentor, and being a leader, some of the things that I picked up over that time have been people's kind of walls against giving feedback. And these were some of the things that I hear the most often. So, one are people are afraid that if they give feedback to a person, they're going to get yelled at and hated. So, really, you can tell right away if we're thinking about having a conversation with somebody, we're putting our own emotions into it. Or they're afraid that they'll offend somebody by what they have to say if they think it's negative. Or some people really just like to pile on and go, yeah, I don't like this person, so this is going to be easy because they get a chance to just tell them about themselves because they're like, well, I don't like you anyway. That's not what any of this actually is. That is not what feedback actually is. So, a couple of our feedback myths, okay? Feedback is double C's, constructive criticism. I don't know where this started. It needs to stop now. And if you are all going to be change agents after this presentation, then you're going to go back to wherever you're going to and say, feedback is not constructive criticism. We're going to stop that right now because there's nothing congruous about constructive and criticism. It's basically, I'm telling you, you're doing a terrible job constructively. That's not what that is. But I hear that often, and I'm sure that you all have as well. Also, a feedback myth is the sandwich is the best way, right? So I hear this all the time, and I'm sure you have too. You're going to give somebody feedback, it's going to be good, quote unquote, bad, and then good. And that's the feedback sandwich. Think about if you were going to make somebody an actual sandwich if they were really hungry, and you made them the most amazing sandwich on the face of this planet, and you were so proud to be able to give the sandwich that you made to this person and they're allergic to mayo, and you put a lot of mayo on the sandwich. And when they eat that, that's not going to turn out so good. Why? Because you didn't ask them what kind of sandwich that they wanted. So if you decide to give someone feedback in the form of a sandwich, just think about the fact that they might be allergic to mayo. So you might want to have a conversation about that. So here's the feedback reality. So we know what it isn't. What is feedback actually? So I'm going to tell you that you are not going after people. It's not a sandwich. Remember, make sure people aren't allergic to mayo before you give them a sandwich. And it can be awkward. So we really want to be able to enter into our feelings here in feedback and think about owning our own emotions around giving feedback. How do we feel about giving it first, right? So you're giving people information about themselves. So we have to keep ourselves in check while we're giving feedback to another individual. Because if we invite all of our emotions into it, that conversation is going to get real lost real quick. So that's what feedback really is. It's merely information. It's a two-way conversation. The receiver can choose to accept the information or not. And remember, when we talk about two-way conversation, I am a giver and a receiver. So somebody may be giving me feedback, and I can understand that it's information they've observed about me, but it's just a conversation. So I also can choose whether I want to keep or give away that information that I'm hearing. We all have that choice. And how you give feedback is especially important. So I'm closing up this whole talk with 4 very simple, actionable strategies for how to give feedback. Number 1, give it as close to the behavior as possible, whether it is somebody who is working with each other really, really well and really kind of buoying up the team and really making everybody feel empowered, or if somebody is tanking, you really want to be able to give feedback as close to the behavior as possible. Now, if somebody really screwed up and you're really emotionally charged about that in any situation, first, I would recommend, and I'm hoping, write out what you want to say, really want to say, then destroy that, and then start with a more productive way of saying it. It gets the emotions away from you so you can clear the field and think clearly to be able to give that information. Number 3, take a deep breath and really listen to what the person is saying. Stay even and calm and expect defensiveness in some cases, because again, you're giving somebody information about a behavior that you've observed. And if you're going to have a conversation with me telling me about me, I might get defensive. So let's think about that as well. And then the last step is, remember, there are no monsters under the bed. Feedback is only information. It's only information. And again, the giver has the opportunity to choose or to give away the information that you're giving them. But again, it's guidance for growth. It's not, yeah, I don't like your shoes, so I'm going to tell you that you're doing a terrible job. It has nothing to do with that. Okay. So those are 4 very simple, actionable strategies to give effective feedback. And with that, my friends, I would like to thank you.